You know what? I stand corrected.
This clip.
Every Labor Day. I admit it. It's a tough. Thank you. Thank you, Diana. I'm aware. This is why we have an arms embargo.
Relations with Israel.
Did you hear that? They said that there's a genocide in Israel, and then there's some people in the audience that's groaning, "Oh, we don't want to talk about real issues. Why do we want to talk about this ongoing damn genocide? We're just supposed to suck a fucking goddamn politician's dick. Why would we talk about real issues? Who cares about unionization? Who cares about homes for the homeless? Who gives a shit about goddamn solving the environment issues? Who gives a shit about actually solving the real fucking problems? We're supposed to suck our politicians' dicks. This is actually really cool."
Let's just have a watch of this clip.
Every Labor Day. I admit it. It's a tough. Thank you.
Now, it said, "Mr. Carney, there's a genocide that's happening in Palestine." He said, "Thank you." And then he says something about, "Thank you, Diana," which sounds like a guy that's back there. And then he says that's why there's an arms embargo. So it sounds like he's admitting that there's a genocide that's happening in Palestine and that he's in favor of the arms embargo that Canada has placed upon Israel. Netanyahu should be fucking goddamn arrested. If I was Donald Trump, I'd arrest fucking Netanyahu as soon as he comes to the fucking White House. I'd arrest him as soon as he comes to the damn White House.
Thank you, Diana. I'm aware. This is why we have an arms embargo.
That's why we have an arms embargo. That's why we have an arms embargo. So that makes it sound like he's pro-Palestine, and then here he makes it sound like he's anti-Palestine. Which is it, motherfucker? So what do you think the Liberal Party of Canada believes about a Palestinian state? Is it time to the leader of Canada, what say ye?
The question in President Macron's declaration overnight, as I recall, would we follow suit, in effect, was the question. My answer, in a word, no. We support a two-state solution, but a two-state solution where we have a free and viable Palestinian state living in peace and security alongside an Israeli state.
So the French declaration was to acknowledge Palestine as a state by June. So I don't know what he's talking about. He's talking about there's a genocide. He knows that there's a genocide. He's okay with the arms embargo, which those are two great positions. But now he's saying that Palestine should not be a state. And then what the hell does the other candidates? Let's just see if we can find something else. Palestine, Pierre. Let's see, what does Pierre have to say about Palestine? Oh, he wants to deport Palestinian protesters. What a piece of fucking goddamn garbage. He is absolute fucking a literal villain. He is a literal villain. What does Jagmeet have to say about Palestine? He calls on Trudeau to recognize Palestinian statehood, which they should. They should. Cenk calls for Canada to prevent genocide in Gaza. We can never surrender to despair. He condemns Hamas, calls for a ceasefire in Israel. Let's take a look at both of these.
Snap your W-2 and file your taxes 100% free. Plus, get your biggest refund. File free. Where do you stand on it?
Okay, let's see. Here's Pierre.
Iran was remote controlling Hamas and ensuring that the Palestinian people would not be able to build a brighter future as long as Israel was next door living in peace and harmony. And it was...
If that's a yarmulke, that has got to be the biggest fucking yarmulke I've ever seen in my life.
Fear that that discord would come to an end and that hope would take root that most terrified the regime in Iran. And so they orchestrated the attack. The Hamas leaders traveled to Tehran, they got funding and weapons from Tehran, and ultimately coordination. I'm sorry, but I refuse to believe that ragtag terrorists in Gaza were able to accumulate all of those weapons and all of that intelligence and coordination on their own. This was an outside job.
What the hell is this guy talking about? You know, Oliver Twist, Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist, That's an anti-Semitic work. That is anti-Semitic. Do not read Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. But is Israel doing genocide? You're goddamn right they are. They are fucking genociding the hell out of the goddamn Palestinians. It's fucking disgusting. It's 400,000 children. When's it going to stop?
Women and children were burned alive in tents. They were told they were in a safe zone, in a refugee encampment, yet they were burned alive. What will it take for this liberal government to send a message to Netanyahu that what has happened is inexcusable? What will it take for this government to take actions to prevent this genocide from happening?
The killing of innocent civilians is completely unacceptable, and the decisions of the International Court of Justice are binding. The level of human suffering is catastrophic, and that's why, Mr. Speaker, we need an immediate ceasefire.
Women and children were
We must deport from our country any temporary resident that is here on a permit or a visa that is carrying out violence or hate crimes on our soil. We see on our own streets anti-Semitism guided by obscene, woke ideologies that have led to an explosion in hate crimes. Hate crimes were up over 100% in Canada before October 7th. Now they're up 251%, with Jews being the principal victims of those crimes. We must not just condemn these things, we must take action against them. We must deport from our country any temporary resident that is here on a permit or a visa that is carrying out violence or hate crimes on our soil.
Absolutely. So we absolutely believe that we need to recognize Palestine as a state, to move forward with the two-state solution, to move ultimately forward for a peaceful solution. We maintain our position. We have a private members motion on this, a private members bill on this, by Heather McPherson, my foreign affairs critic. This is the New Democrat position. But most importantly, Canada should take this position. Justin Trudeau should take this position. Other countries have already made it clear that that is one of the ways forward to bringing the two-state solution back to the forefront. And we believe it is a fundamental step towards peace.
Yeah, go ahead.
Concerning
Go
the
ahead.
students, concerning the deportation of the students, and listen, the reality of it is, I'm pro-Israel, but I'm also pro-Palestine. I'm pro-peace. I'm pro-human life. I'm pro-everybody deserve a chance to live. I'm anti-Hamas. Okay, and that's the challenge that you're seeing with some of these protesters who are pro-Palestinian. Now, I will, in the next couple of days, in Michigan, we'll be speaking to a group of pro-Palestinian supporters, and I hope to be able to go to the Gaza and to be able to have conversation to try to bring peace in that region. But let me just say this. What the Palestinian protesters need to do, they need to make sure that they are not pro-Hamas. When you're holding up signs that are saying we are pro-Hamas, my message is that Hamas is not Palestine, the Palestinians. The Palestinians are not Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization that should be wiped off the face of the planet, supported by Iran. And they're using human shields from the Gaza to destroy Israel. I
agree with that speech, but freedom of speech isn't for speech that you agree with. It's for unpopular speech. But that's not even important in this case, because the people they've snatched up weren't pro-Hamas at all, didn't say anything pro-Hamas. In fact, Mahmoud Halil went on national TV and spoke out against anti-Semitism. Öztürk only wrote an op-ed. She didn't even go to the protest. She wrote an op-ed saying that there should be an economic boycott of Israel. None of that is pro-Hamas. They're 100% making it up, and that's the problem with going outside of due process. When you ignore the courts, you don't ever present your evidence. So if you had evidence linking them to Hamas, great, present it, and let's have a conversation.
Well, the evidence,
debate about it.
Yeah, the evidence is a sign. They got a clear sign that says we are Hamas. There's a sign that says you don't have to debate that.
Totally wrong.
You don't have to debate that. You don't have to.
You're wrong.
It's just like Black Lives Matter.
You're wrong on the facts.
You're wrong on the
It's
facts.
like Black Lives Matter.
Neither one of those
Black Lives
people
Matter
had
was
a
powerful. I was
Fine.
for Black Lives Matter in the beginning until they start talking about killing pigs. Now, what Black Lives Matter failed to do was they failed to say, hey, we're not with those people. We should denounce those people who are talking about killing cops, killing pigs. The moment they did that, they lost the support of millions of supporters. And as you can see, Black Lives Matter trying to be a sham.
Okay, but wait a minute, brother. Let's,
right, but
okay,
it's the same
let's
thing
apply the
goes
same.
with
Hold
the
on,
Palestinian.
hold on.
Let me finish.
But no, let's apply the same standard. Let's be fair. Let's apply the same standard. Has everybody on the pro-Israel side condemned the slaughter of 50,000 Palestinians, the slaughter of 15,000 Palestinian children? Has everyone called Israel the terrorist state that they obviously are?
Well,
or do the Palestinian lives not matter as
That's
much
what
as
media is
Israeli
for.
lives? Have
That's
you
what
condemned
media is
Israel
for. And that's what people like me
wholeheartedly
is
as a
for.
terrorist that